It's Wednesday, September 13th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we continue Origins Week with the story of how we discovered the Animes. Let's do this! Know what I did today at work?
Play DDR?
Played DDR at work.
So you actually pulled it off this time?
Yep, that's what I did. I installed me a nice Stepmania on the work laptop and a bunch of songs. Pretty much first mix through eighth mix and a whole bunch of the side mixes, and oh yeah. I got down for about an hour.
So you didn't do the other thing you've known to do at work when no one's there?
No, I didn't. I just played some DDR. I think I'm going to play DDR for like an hour at work every day and to become the master again, because I am no longer the master.
I don't know, you seem to pick it up pretty quick in Wildwood when we played for 3 days straight.
Yeah, I did pick it up in Wildwood when we played for 3 days straight. However, I was not up to my previous level of awesomeness, where I'm basically doing Maniac on everything. So we're going to get back up to that level of awesomeness and hopefully beyond. That way when I go to the Wildwood, it'll just be like, yeah, Oni mode, whatever. And I've got all the songs for that. I got the Max 300s and all that jazz, so I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, we'll see, because I note that it took me a good month of solid practice to be able to pass the trick version of all those Max songs.
Yeah, I think an hour every day is plenty. Oh, an hour 5 days a week.
I think you should work on Dropout first.
That's where I'm headed there. I was too busy playing music and going, yes, yes, yes.
See, if only the floor in our house wasn't so absolutely flimsy, we could play DDR every day.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And there used to be an arcade with 4th and 5th mix right here.
But now there isn't.
Yeah, it went out of business about a month before you moved in.
Awesome.
I used to play there almost every day.
If only
lunch.
we had known, we could have bought their machine and put it in our house with a shaky floor, and it would have crashed into the basement.
No, you know what we would have done? We would have put it on the back deck with a canopy over it.
Yeah, because that works so well for our bikes.
Just your bike.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, you got some news?
I do indeed. I'm going to appease some underwear perverts. I'm going to give an underwear pervert news. Sort of an underwear pervert news. Actually, it's about a comic I read.
All right.
There is a comic called Runaways. It is awesome. You should read it. It's about these kids where they discovered that their parents were horrible, evil supervillains, so they ran away. Yeah. And it's cool. And it's been written from issues up to issue 24 by a man named Brian K. Vaughan, who has never written a bad comic in his life. I pretty much buy every single thing he writes ever, and it is awesome. But they announced that as of issue 24 would be his last issue, and everyone went, no. The guy who was the best writer is writing one less comic. No. Now, people like me and some of our friends, who also read it, were kind of like, what do we do now? And then they announced the new writer, and it didn't excite me as much as I know it excites everyone else. But it's that there Joss Whedon guy is going to write it.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
See, I don't know why you don't like Firefly so much.
Pretty much, I've never read the guy's comics. I know he writes that Astonishing X-Men comic, but I don't like any of his TV shows so much. So I'll probably buy issue 25, which is his first issue, to see.
Well, see, it depends, because I love Firefly. It's probably one of my favorite shows ever made, but I really didn't like Buffy, and there was one scene in all of Angel that was even worth noting.
Yeah. I pretty much have the same opinion of all that stuff, is that it's not bad. It's not like going to watch a bad, Monos the Hands. It's not Monos the Hands of Fate bad, or
Monos the Hands
Gray
of Fate
Digital Target bad.
It's fucking awesome.
I know. It's not bad like MD Geist, but it's just not. It doesn't make me feel like, yay, I want to watch it. It's just kind of a show.
Yeah, except I've noticed you say that about just about everything.
Yeah, most stuff sucks, including that stuff.
See, I don't know how you can be such a crotchety old man.
I'm not a crotchety old man.
You complain about everything.
No, I don't.
Well, we'll be sitting there watching Arrested Development, and you'll be laughing hysterically, and then when we're done watching, you'll say, that was all right.
Because
it was kind of meh. Yeah,
it is. It's an okay show.
Get off my lawn.
It's a better show than Firefly.
Get off my lawn. You realize you probably pissed off every single one of our listeners.
Anyway, the point is that this is a really...
You said it twice.
No.
Yes, you did.
What did I say twice?
You said the point is that. Do I have to go back and play it for you.
It's not the point.
That was the point.
You got rid of me.
Because Killarney in the forums, who has pointed out not only every mispronunciation we've had.
Yeah, what was up with lure? What's wrong with saying lure? It's lure.
He got me for saying asbestos instead of asbestos.
No, the correct pronunciation is asbestos and not asbestos.
You realize that most people say it the latter way.
I say it either way, like lure. Sometimes I say lure, sometimes I say lure.
I'm Lur, ruler of planet Omicron Persei.
See, there's a difference between a pronunciation like that, like lure and lure, which is sort of a dialect type of thing.
That's the point I tried to make.
And there's another kind of mispronunciation, which is like Theotekin or as opposed to Otakon. It's like that is a mispronunciation, whereas lure is like a dialect change.
But in the very least, he did get us a couple times when we tried to pronounce the name of that bacteria.
Yep. Well, I knew the correct pronunciation.
But you still said it. We still said it wrong.
You said it wrong. I knew the name of the bacteria.
All right, lure.
Yeah, it's right. Anyway, I think this is going to be good for this comic either way, because even if, at the worst case scenario, he completely screws up this comic, at least the attention from his fame will bring people in to read the comic, and they'll go and pick up the awesome 24-plus issues that the good guy wrote. I
can say with certainty that Kremlin in the forums will buy every comic that has Joss Whedon's name on it.
Well, yeah, he already knows the score with this. I was talking to him about it.
Oh.
I was trying to hint at that before, but you missed it.
Fancy that, because I actually wasn't paying attention. I was pulling a Michael Godot, and I was busy reading the computer screen.
I actually have the first 5. The best thing about Runaways is that they print it in the digest. I mean, they don't only print it in the digest, but they do. So it's like little manga books. So it's happy to read. If you're not into the underwear perverts, you can pretend it's a manga in color.
All right. So there's this news. It's been going around. I saw it all over Fark, and people were talking about it on Dig. And it would have been news by itself. The headline was, IT people are twice as likely to wear heavy metal t-shirts.
I believe it.
All right. I thought this is going to be some interesting demographics, and everyone's talking about it. I'll talk about it, too. It'll be my news, because I went in, and they talked about how IT people are more likely to wear black jeans, more likely to have ponytails, and I'm thinking, this really kind of describes me, and I'm an IT guy.
Hey, basically the article said, the stereotype is true. Behold.
All right. Now, if that was it, that would have been it. And I would have talked a little bit about, they talk about things like, IT people are...
In the news today, people from urban areas more likely to enjoy hip-hop music.
But it had stuff like IT people are more likely than business people to carry both a Maglite...
And rice cars.
Both a Maglite and a Leatherman.
The only reason I have a Leatherman is because too much money.
I had a Gerber, which is basically the same thing as a Leatherman, but someone at IBM stole it.
Man, maybe I'll just shell out and buy one of these days.
So if any of you from IBM are listening and you took my Leatherman, I want it back.
Ooh.
Because I know a lot of you listen.
Yeah.
I don't. Actually, the thing is, all the people who listen, I know they didn't steal it.
Yeah.
Because they were actually pretty smart. Anyway, now that would have been it. But no, it appears that no one on the internet actually read this article about IT people having long hair and ponytails and crap. Because one, it was on Small Business IT World, but it just has a blurb there. And it links to intermedia.net where the actual article lies. Now, intermedia.net looks like a hosting company.
Intermedia.net is a hosting company. They host Exchange servers.
They host Exchange servers.
Now, why would a hosting company put a news story on its website? That makes no sense.
Now, even better, it seems like a lot of the articles of Small Business IT World are like this. They look like an article, and the blurb looks like an article. But if you follow it, it goes to some company's bullshit website that has some bullshit article on it that starts out, this article starts out giving all these facts. IT people do this, and IT people do that, and business people do this and that, and here's some data. But intermingled with
sounds
all
like
that,
a stand-up comedy routine that's all racist, like white man do this, a black man do that, and a Spanish guy do this.
But intermingled in all that are all of these little bits like blah, 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 blah. Intermedia.net's gold certified Microsoft blah, blah, blah team was comforted by the news, blah, blah, blah. Or many people are implementing Microsoft Exchange hosted environments, blah, 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 and it's nice to know their customer demographics. And if you haven't figured it out by now, the article is complete horse shit. It is nothing more than a classic marketing ploy where the company takes some sort of news that they know the people they want to target would be interested in, and they make up news about it. Then the news is actually just effectively a press release or ad copy about their company.
You think that the hackers would be able to recognize a Trojan horse by now.
Then they submit it to some other site like Small Business IT World, and then they submit it on that site to somewhere like Dig, or maybe Roland Peak Paley's blog. And then
Roland Peak Paley. Or maybe Samir Gupta.
Samir Gupta. Probably my favorite.
We should do an episode on Samir Gupta.
Are you kidding? We could have Samir Gupta week.
Oh my God.
All right. It's an aside. If you
don't. It takes too long.
All I'm
going to
say is if you want to know ahead of time, Google around for a man named Samir Gupta, spelled the way you'd think an Indian man's name.
Samir Gupta.
Yes.
Gupta. Samir Gupta.
We have things to say about him.
We do indeed.
But this is such a classic, obvious marketing ploy. And the thing is, this particular one isn't even done well at all. It's so obvious if you read the article. But from what I can gather, no one read the article, and everyone's talking about this like it's actually news.
News. Stereotype is true. No, news. Companies are putting articles on their websites that are actually ads and then getting people to link to them.
So I implore all of you, if you see someone talking about this news about how IT people wear heavy metal shirts, as awesome as that idea may be, hit them and tell them that they're wrong and that this is just some company's scam to trick people into using Microsoft Exchange through them.
You know, I actually kind of blame Google because the thing is, with Google, is most people search the internet with Google, and you only show up in a high rank on Google if a lot of people link to you. And in addition to that, if you have a high rank on Google, that's going to result in a lot of money if you're a company because you're going to get a lot of people visiting. So no one's going to link to just a hosting company. I mean, what reason do they have to link to the hosting company's website? Not much. So companies that normally would just put up a website for themselves are now putting things on their website, like fake articles that are actually ads and such, in order to get links to those things to get their own Google rank up.
You know, the sad thing is, our Google rank, at least for the forums on frontrowcrew.com, is crazy insane, and we haven't done anything.
Well, because see, the thing is, all that search engine optimization stuff is pretty much like, hey, if you do this, your Google rank will go up. Hey, if you do this, your Google rank will go up. But the thing is, if you actually look at the most, modern search engine optimization things, all of them involve making your bullshit spam site, seem to the Google bot like it's more legitimate. If you're just legitimate, you don't have to do anything because the Google bot is built to recognize and respect and pump up legitimate, good websites. So if you run a good, legitimate website, your Google rank is going to get pumped up.
Yeah, and as a result, if you search in all caps for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest essay, you will find the Front Row Crew forums on the first page.
The point is, you only need search engine optimization if you have a bullshit, spam, fake, trying to make a lot of money website and you want your Google rank to go up.
Huh.
Because if you just make one of those kind of websites, Google will shut you down in the hole.
So the moral here is simply, if you want a hosted Microsoft Exchange environment, don't go to intermedia.net.
No, buy a computer and buy a copy of Microsoft Exchange. And if you're smart, you won't use Microsoft Exchange. You'll get like Open Exchange or something for free and just install it.
The problem is, for most corporate environments, I hate to say it, but Exchange is usually, for what they need, the best solution because the other solutions either cost more in adminning or they end up being something like Lotus Notes or...
Have you looked at Open Exchange lately?
No, I haven't.
It's actually... Pretty much, it does the same thing as Exchange with open source stuff.
It's been over a year since I looked at that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty awesome.
All
the
right,
thing is, it's not feasible for a company already stuck with Exchange to go to it. But if you start a new company, don't buy Exchange. Use the Open Exchange.
You know what? Use Google Mail for domains.
That's also a good idea.
So, on to the main bit. We're going to continue Origins Week talking about how we got into anime, since there have been a lot of threads in the forums lately about, what was your first anime or how'd you get into it? And considering we chose this theme for the week, it seems that we will go right along with this topic. We've also got a special guest, Emily, who is back from a long stint in Japan.
Yo.
I'm sure sometime in the near future, we're going to get her on the show to talk about her experiences.
I want to talk about the big three. I really want to talk about the big three.
Yeah,
big three what?
The big three summer anime movies that I went and saw in the theater. And also the Death Note movie. So
Yeah.
I have got lots of news, and that I figured that was the one thing I could lord over these two, because it was kind of funny. Like a while back in the forums, I brought up the idea of recording segments, and I actually did use my little, headset microphone to record some little, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, and they really didn't turn out that great. Not just because of microphone quality, but just listening to me kind of rambling by myself, and then putting that in the midst of the Scott and Rim insanity.
We've learned that lesson.
Yeah, it's hard.
Did you hear the episodes where Scott was by himself or where I was by myself? We couldn't do it.
And I just pause for a really long time and have to cut out these,
When I did
silent
my first
here.
episode by myself, it took me an hour to record 20 minutes.
Yeah, so it's tougher than it looks, and I give these guys credit for maintaining the energy they do every day of the freaking week. So,
Well, it's just hard to do it with one person. If it's two
Yeah.
people, it's like, this is
you
easy.
kind of play off each other, and it becomes more a conversation than a talking to myself in the middle of my, studio apartment.
Yep, plus there's a lot less incentive to, wait a minute, I could just re-edit myself and make myself sound perfect. And I got to keep
Yeah.
editing because I never sound perfect, I know.
Yeah, but so anyway, the biggest thing was that I figured, I'm in Japan, I can be this Japan correspondent. But the thing is, they'd figure out stuff before I did, with the internet.
What was it, that cup noodle thing?
The cup noodle thing. I go downstairs to the lobby where I got my Wi-Fi connection.
Now bear in mind, she's in Japan, where all of this
Yeah.
comes from.
And so I see, I'm like, what could I talk about that Rim and Scott wouldn't know about through like Dig or Engadget or whatever? And I go downstairs, and on the TV, this amazing commercial comes on for cup noodles. It's anime, it's 3D cell shader, just beautiful. Looks like Akira. It's great. And I go up, and I'm really excited, and I record this bit, and I call Rim on Skype. I'm like, Rim, I have this thing. And then I listened to the podcast, and it was like the podcast that day was like, cup noodle freedom. I was like, God damn it.
I believe it was
How?
it was the thing of the day.
I think it was my thing of the day.
Yeah, it was Scott. And then Scott's like, I have this thing. I'm like, he's not going to say it, is he? And then he's like, yeah, the Akira guy did a commercial. I was like, no. How could they possibly know about Japanese commercials before I do? I can understand like technology.
Well, the trick is,
games and stuff.
since Japan is the place of awesome, anything that's significantly awesome, like, escapes Japan and comes here, So the trick is that if you're there, you can collect all the stuff that is just slightly less awesome that doesn't make it out. It's stuck there, and you got to kind of scoop it all up so that people outside go, oh, there's the stuff we're missing.
That's the thing, like all the stuff you can get at like convenience stores, like the little Gundam candy and stuff like that.
No, it's not just physical things. It's like information or other things like that. Like,
No.
there's something that all the Japanese people know, or
through the grapevine kind of
or
information.
here's the thing that Japanese people have access to that Americans don't.
It seems like the only barrier we have left is the language barrier, because like there's the Mario manga that no one's translating, but I would pay large amounts of money to read that.
Scott's got that. We went
I have
book off
volume
shopping.
1 for $1.
I think I was with you when you bought that. You're
Yep.
like, where's the Mario manga? And we found it at Book Off.
Yep.
But,
Next to the Kirby manga.
that
Yep.
was,
And the Bomberman.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, since we wanted to talk about origin stories, I guess we'll begin with Scott, because he's the crotchiest member of the
What's with the
Third
crotchety
tonight?
lately? First
That's
it's
been
the
like a thing
sedentary
this
lifestyle. Now it's the crotchety old man.
Well,
but next,
But
Scott, you're
you've
so
always been
dead.
the crotchety
Oh,
one.
Scott, yeah, the corpse. Scott, he's just dead.
You're not dead yet. You're just an old man keeping kids off your lawn with your sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah. Anyway,
So how'd you get into anime, Scott?
well, like most kids, I'm a little kid. I'm watching me some Voltron. I'm watching me some Transformers and Thundercats, and not realizing this is Japanese. I'm like, this is just cartoons. This is what kids watch, And then I think it had to be sometime like late middle school, early high school-ish, when I realized that there was a thing called anime that existed, there were cartoons from Japan that were somehow different, than the ones from America. And, I knew about them, and I think like there was a big deal when Sci-Fi was going to show Akira, because,
Wow,
it
you
was
got
all,
into the game pretty late.
well, it was all mature and stuff. And like I kind of like watched like 5 minutes of it, and then I went to bed at that point. But eventually, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I was watching, Thundercats and stuff on Toonami when Moltar was the host in high school.
You mean the best era of Toonami?
Yes, the good era of Toonami when they still had Space Ghost and Herculoids in the middle. And, there was Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and stuff on there, but I wasn't watching that. But, the anime was coming in, it was sneaking in there. And then Sci-Fi Channel had a week of Godzilla movies. Now, I already like Godzilla movies, so I watched all of them, especially the best Godzilla movie, which is Godzilla vs. Mothra. And anyone who wants to argue with me on that, head to the forums, because Godzilla vs. Mothra is the best Godzilla movie ever.
Well, Mothra is the best monster ever, therefore.
No shit. The second best movie is Mothra. So, take that. So, anyway... I was watching that, and during that, because it was a whole week of Godzilla movies, they had ads like, next week is all anime movies. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll stick around and watch that.
So what movies did they show?
I remember seeing a Fatal Fury because, it's that Neo Geo fighting game with the guy with the hat. And I watched it, and not having seen many anime movies before, it was okay. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch it now. But I remember one scene where there was a huge fight in a giant Neo Geo arcade with arcade machines flying everywhere. It was pretty awesome.
God.
And then they showed, eventually, I think they showed the sequel and some other movies. But the only movie that I remember or care about was the first two Galaxy Express 39 movies, which were, and still are, awesome.
Yeah, we watched them again recently, in fact.
Yeah, well, the first one. We didn't watch the second one again.
Well, I want to, anyway.
We should real soon. I have it, so.
See, I guess I got into the game a bit earlier than you. I remember very, very specifically. I posted in the forums a bit about it, but my mother, and she has said this to me many times in my life, there's going to be something on TV that's a lot like those Castlevania games you like. Watch it.
Mm-hmm.
She said that about the Neverending Story, and she said that about this cartoon thing that was going to be on the Sci-Fi Channel when I was in 4th grade. So I sat down some Saturday, and sure enough, I catch the last 2/3 of Vampire Hunter D. To my 4th grade mind, that was the most awesome thing ever. D was the coolest person I'd ever seen depicted in television.
Yeah, after I saw that Galaxy Express, I was trying to watch the Saturday morning anime on Sci-Fi as much as I could, but it got canceled and they kept changing the time around. And
I tried to dress up as D for like 3 Halloweens afterward, but my parents always talked me out of it, saying that no one would know what I was and they'd think I was weird.
You just gotta have the mouth in the hand and everyone will know what you are.
I wasn't sure.
Wouldn't.
Yeah,
At that
no one would
point in
know.
time, I remember when I dressed up, my dad bought, when he went on a business trip, he bought a VHS of Princess Mononoke. That was like my favorite movie when I was in, I must have been in like 9th grade or something.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was a long time ago. It was even before it came over to the US, and we had like this raw VHS, and I loved it. And so I dressed up as San, and the only person who figured out what I was, everybody else thought I was a cave girl, and they were like, the exchange student from Japan was like, "Oh my God, your son from Mononoke Hime!" And I was like, "Yes." So that was kind of satisfying, but nobody got it.
I remember I discovered Princess Mononoke because I went to between high school and college. I went to Israel, and while we were there was this guy named Ruben. Like, his first name was Ruben. My last name is Ruben, but he spells his first name differently. Anyway, he was there on the trip with us, and he was talking about this movie, Princess Mononoke, and I'm like, I never heard of this movie, and Ian was on. That's where I met Ian, and he was all into Gundams and stuff.
You may remember Ian from the Epic Smells.
Yes, he was from the Epic Smells story, that Ian. And he was just a Gundam nut. He still is a Gundam nut, but he was just ranting about Gundams, so that's how we got into the anime discussion. And then, we were passing by a movie theater in Israel, and there was a poster for Princess Mononoke. We didn't watch it because we couldn't just stay around and watch a movie in the middle of some trip, but there it was. And then when I got back to the U.S., I was like, aha, there we go. And then the anime club started 2 months after that. So
Yep. See, after Vampire Hunter D, I was hooked, and I stayed all day, and I watched Project A-ko and Dominion Tank Police, Robot Carnival, which was the only one I didn't like, and 8-Man After, and then years later I saw the Tenchi Muyo movie, and I got obsessed, and I bought the entire OAV. And then through high school, every Sunday, we'd buy 2 or 3 tapes of anime, and then we'd watch them all between our 2 sessions of D&D. And I pretty much was an anime nut from 4th grade until now, and I'm still an anime nut. The RIT Anime Club did nothing except give me more access to anime, because I already rented everything in Blockbuster.
Yeah, I remember our Blockbuster had some stuff, but I couldn't really, it wasn't enough.
Oh, Oh, I have a Blockbuster story, right? I'm sure they've told you about Video Barn, right? That was like the hangout of all the RIT kids. They go there. It's just a no-name video store with just a ton of foreign films and anime. Like all these cult hits, all these like really, really obscure.
Pretty much every movie
movies.
ever.
It's actually quite impressive. It's no Kim's, but it's pretty.
It pretty
cool.
much single-handedly got us into Asian kung fu action flicks in a big way.
And when I was in high school, I used to beg my mom to take me to the Blockbuster across the street from Video Barn, even though it was like half an hour away, because it had like 20 anime movies. And it was just like yards away from Video Barn.
The treasure
and then
trove was right
I
there.
realized it like years later. I was like, what was I thinking? No.
Yeah.
You know, it was,
Because that
it was
Video
one of those,
Barn.
oh, if only I had known.
Yeah, usually the no-name video places have crap these days, you know?
I don't know.
But
Sometimes
Video-
you can find some
Yeah, but
really
like Video Barn
interesting
is one of those rare ones that's like this one per state that has everything.
Well, the thing was, the guy who ran it knew a lot about this stuff. I mean, he wrote things like very good sword fighting on the front of movies that had very good sword fighting.
Yeah, I remember
He'd
we went-
recommend stuff too.
we went to the Video Barn and we were like, do you have Attack the Gas Station? He just pulls it right out. It's
Yeah.
right there. And I'm like, shit.
Yeah, and he talked to you.
Yep.
You know, you could tell he was just
Yeah, he'd be
really
like-
into it.
He'd be like, you like to attack the gas station,
They
rent
also,
this one
they
now.
also had a
Yeah.
real big porn section in the bag.
Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
with the creepy way, like the ritual of getting porn where they had like these drop boxes and you pick, because we saw them and I asked the guy what
How
they
do you
were.
know?
I asked the guy what the deal was. He was like, that's so people can buy porn without looking like they're buying porn or renting porn.
Ugh.
You would pick out all the porn you want and put it in a cubby hole in the bag. Then you walk out with nothing in your hands. Then you rent something normal, and when you go to check up, you say, and number 4. And then the guy would just discreetly take all the stuff from QB number 4 and put it in a brown paper bag.
It's clever.
He also had
Yes.
parking
Give
around
him
back.
that. Oi, 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 oi.
Sad thing is, I'll bet he made more money off of that porn than he did off of all those Asian kung fu movies.
Yeah, well, they also had every anime ever. Yeah, pretty much.
They had like a hentai section. You could see it. It wasn't like in the porn corner. It's like you were walking down the aisle. Like they literally had an anime aisle, and you're walking down the aisle. And it's like normal, normal, normal. Oh my God, scary titles.
And then
like,
the door
like
to the porn
Crazy
room.
Sex Taxi. What was that one?
Crazy Sex Taxi? I haven't heard of that one.
It's always like,
because I'm looking at the titles, and then this titles start getting kind of surreal, and I'm like, I think I'm in the wrong.
I mean, what
row.
I always hear people talk about like Ogenki Clinic or Cool Devices or
Yeah.
or My Lady Innocent or another Lady Innocent.
Well, I always hear about-
Also, you know.
From Anime World Order, I keep hearing like Bible Black and Discipline. We should do we should do a
Very
discipline
simple,
reading.
but somehow evocative title. And, I don't know. Actually, the video store in Leroy had basically no anime. Princess Mononoke. I think it had Magic Knight Ray Earth.
Ooh.
But the anime it did have was like ancient, like Unico and stuff.
Wow. It seemed like where I grew up.
Maybe that's why Kate knew Unico. And I used to go, loudly.
God.
No, don't do
No.
that.
Don't
'cause
remind
now
us of that.
she's doing it right as she listens to this. You know
Yeah.
it.
You realize you've primed a Kate grenade.
Hey, Kate, when you come out, please sneak up behind Scott for me. And
Yeah,
No,
well,
don't do
I
that.
think I'll try to record this horrible shriek that our friend Kate can make. But
she's
anyway,
very skilled.
the video stores near me all had the same anime because I went far and wide when I was in like middle school with my parents, and every one of them had like Demon City Shinjuku and Harmageddon,
Doom
Arslan.
Megalopolis.
Doom
Arslan.
Megalopolis. Arslan was awesome.
Ninja Scroll.
I love
Scroll.
Arslan, except the last episodes get crummy.
The thing is, the weirdest thing was all
My
these
friend hated
stores
it.
had like 3 random tapes of Evangelion, but they all had the 3 same random tapes. And it wasn't like tape 1, 2, and 3. It was tape like 1,
Like
4, and
6.
7.
Right.
And I thought
Yeah.
it was, I mean, I saw it and I looked at it. I was like, that's some religious show, isn't it? I'm not going to watch that. I didn't know how awesome that
get
was.
out, get out.
Yeah. It was weird. Like, I didn't even realize just how many anime things you could buy in the U.S. I figured that, you know, like, you just couldn't get that stuff here. And then, like,
No,
the first...
you couldn't though.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, the first year at RIT was, like, this way crazy transition because I came into RIT that first year. At the beginning of the year, you know, it was like, here are the old VHSs that we're watching from the Anime Club library. And at the end of the year, we're buying DVDs and downloading fan subs. Like, that, all that stuff happened in that one
Remember,
year of 2000.
While we were freshmen at RIT was when digital fan subs suddenly exploded.
Yeah, it was
when-
the year 2000. All that stuff
Yes,
came to be.
It was when, and I remember very specifically because I almost got kicked out of the RIT Anime Club by the tape Nazi Greg Young
Mhm.
because the Escaflowne movie had come out, and it was pretty much the first widely distributed digital fan sub. And I found it, and oh my god! So I made like 10 copies of it, and I was giving them to people like, check this out, it's the Escaflowne movie. And the anime club was like, that's bootlegging, we're gonna kick you out of club. And then the next year, the club was showing fan subs.
Well, they were doing it that year. They had Gatekeepers, the first one.
I remember living in Japan that I think it was 2002 when I was checking the RIT's website, and I'd get really annoyed because they were watching stuff that I couldn't watch because it was on too late. And, everybody was BitTorrenting by this time, and BitTorrent got really popular like 2002. And I just remember checking the website and being like, why are watching that? That hasn't even come out on video yet. I can't even rent it from Tsutaya. I'm mad, but... I
mean, I love the fact that my anime fandom went from seeing horrible dubs on the Sci-Fi Channel to literally watching shows the day after they're aired in Japan, translated into English.
Yeah. Come a long way, isn't it?
Though I think Emily here has probably the most extensive and earliest history in anime compared to the two of us.
It was kind of weird because it's basically opposite of everyone that I know, because everyone's like, my parents don't understand my hobby.
My parents had no freaking idea what this stuff was.
My parents kind of get it. I mean, they go to the movie theater when there's a Ghibli movie out,
Ghibli.
Yeah, it's fine.
Ghibli.
They kind of get it.
Ghibli.
They're not like, they don't really get it, but, they're down.
Yeah. Well, I got into anime because of my parents and actually my extended family. The first manga I ever got was gotten by my Uncle Dave, who was he's a comic book artist / graphic designer, lived in Chicago. And he got me the Harlock. Actually, it was an animanga, but it was all in Japanese. I had no idea what was going on except that there were Nazis and planes and aliens with blue skin. And it was kind of crazy. But I remember specifically, like, my parents have always been really into foreign films and indie films in particular, and they were shopping in the foreign film section of Media Play, may it rest in peace, and they came across, like, a very small shelf, and half of it was, like, kind of suspicious-looking porny things, but they're, like, Japanese animation, and I remember them talking about a title they thought was funny was All-Purpose Cultural Cat Girl Nuku Nuku, and they thought that was a funny title for a film. But they picked up Oh My Goddess and You're Under Arrest, because they're like, this is the stuff Dave was talking about, and it might be kind of cool. But we don't know if it's scary because, like, so much of that stuff looked kind of sketchy.
That seems to be the thing back then. Like, everyone who didn't know what anime was.
It was like a small shelf, and half of it was just, like, porn.
Well, I think what it was back in the day when the Sci-Fi Channel first started picking up all this anime is they were like, check out anime. It's this ultra-violent, ultra-hardcore, wicked, for adult animation stuff.
It wasn't, because they showed, like, Vampire Hunter D, but then they showed, like, Urusei Yatsura 2.
Yeah, but it's like that was what the ads were. That was how they were marketing it, know? They pushed Akira like, this is something kids shouldn't see, but it's a cartoon. Oh, my God.
Blast from the past. When I was hanging out with the Aiken, the movie club, when I was at Nagoya, I opened a box, and it broke, and guess what was inside? Like a whole stack of really, really old Urusei Yatsura manga.
I love that manga.
It was so funny to read it.
In fact, my friend Ken had, like, all of it in this giant stack of, like, these huge books that the binding would break pretty much immediately. Because manga was really rare when I was a kid. I feel like an old man.
Did you have it, like, in Japanese?
No, it was in English, because that stuff was translated mad early.
Yeah, I think we have the same volume you're talking about that's, like, huge.
Yeah, it's like an inch and a half thick, and the binding would break.
But they're missing a whole bunch of stories from it. They, like, took out only the best stories.
He was bitching about that, and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
All I could think was, how does he know stuff's missing?
Yeah, I noticed. And also, like, when they released Maison Ikoku, I realized, like, a few years ago that they cut chapters out of it. And I was like, why'd they do that?
Well, it's weird where I grew up. I mean,
I don't understand.
From other people I've talked to, there was a lot more anime in the stores and in the video rental places in my area than in most areas, when I was in 4th grade. But there was zero manga. There was absolutely no manga anywhere. But one time I went to Florida to march with my marching band in, like, the Citrus Bowl or something.
Yeah.
And we ended up on the last day. Our chaperone was supposed to take us to the Hard Rock Cafe and then wait for our plane. But our plane was late at night, so we had all day. Our chaperone said, I'll pretend you were with me all day. Don't get killed. And he wandered off.
Awesome.
So
I want a trip like that.
and my friend Dan and my friend Ken went downtown.
We're adults now. Every trip is like that.
And we found this Virgin Megastore, and we wandered in, and they had a manga, or as we said, a manga section.
God, everyone does that. Like, yeah.
And I remember I was in awe. Absolute awe, and I bought as much as I could afford to buy. I spent all my money buying Tenchi Muyo manga, and I read it all in the plane trip to Chicago.
But anyway, so I started out with, oh my god. Actually, even before then, we were really into Ghibli movies because my mom had rented My Neighbor Totoro, and even before my dad started going to Japan on business trips. And for a while, like when I was in 6th grade, we thought we were, like the whole family was going to get transferred over to Japan. And it didn't actually come to pass, but my dad still goes back for business fairly frequently. So that's how I got like My Neighbor Totoro and Majo no Takibin and stuff like that. And he also brought back like the Raw Mononoke, which was like basically sealed my anime fandom forever. And as far as manga is concerned, they also bought most of my manga. Like my dad really likes. It's funny because my mom tends to go more for, as far as comics go, she really likes the American indie stuff more, like those biography kind of.
I just find it so cool that your parents. I mean, my parents.
I remember her buying Daredevil comics too.
They couldn't understand what this anime thing was or what this manga stuff was. My mom was convinced that the comics were just boobies. Mainly because I had Tenchi Muyo, which had a lot of... Yeah, but in the anime, I remember my mom was watching Beautiful Dreamer while I was watching it. She was doing housework. And at the end, she looks at me and she says, wasn't this about Nazis in the beginning? What's going on with this show?
Yeah, my parents were never really into anything. Like, I think my mom bought like an X-Files comic book once. Like when we were just in the comic book store, she saw it and she went, ooh, and she bought it, But like whatever I want, if I like, comic books, then that, that's what we'd go get. If I have video games, we'd go do that too. Whatever geeky thing I wanted, they were like, okay, whether they understood it or not.
At least to my mom's credit, one time I was 16 and I wanted a copy of Dragon Half because that show is fucking hilarious. Good God, if you haven't seen Dragon Half, go find it.
Dragon Half, we got to talk about that sometime.
That's the Slime Princess one, right?
Yes, the Slime Princess.
That one.
Yep.
And that show. That show. If nothing else, look on YouTube or Google Video for the closing theme. In fact, that'll be my thing of the day in the future.
Awesome.
So never mind. Yeah. But the thing is, it had a for adults only sticker on it because there's a short nude scene in the very end of it. So
scandal.
So my God, boobies.
So I went to Media Play and I tried to buy it and they were like, you can't buy this. You're 16. And I was like, what? I have a mustache. I'm not 16. They're like, let me see some ID. I'm like, oh. And I left.
You should have had fake ID.
So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, buy me this show called Dragon Half. And she's like, all right. She doesn't even question why I'm asking her to buy this for me. And she goes, and she comes back with a bag and she says, they said this is only for adults. What did you ask me to buy? But at the same time, she just hands it to me.
She bought it for you.
You should have been like, you should have said, watch it with me and you'll see.
Oh, I did. And at the end, she said, that was weird. Meanwhile, my dad, totally different story. He used to sit there and watch Sailor Moon with me, which he thought it was just kind of weird and girly. But then, one day I was watching the Tenchi Muyo OAVs, the original Ryo-Oki OAV. And my dad was watching it, and he walked into the room, he was doing something, he saw it on, and he started watching, and then he kept watching. Then he just sat down, and he watched the whole OAV with me, and at the end, he just looks and says, that was really kind of funny, and not what I expected at all. And since then, he likes Cowboy Bebop, and he really likes Read or Die.
See, Cowboy Bebop is like the best transitional anime to get Americans hooked.
Totally.
I think. It's like your friends say anime sucks, and you show them Bebop, and then they're like,
it's weird though. Like I have discovered a few people recently who are like, I don't like it, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
No, they're few and far
between. I've noticed most of the people who at least know about anime and don't like Cowboy Bebop are all new fans who I guess haven't seen a lot of anime yet, or they see like shows that
anything that hasn't come out yesterday they hate.
Yep. Or any show that isn't 1,000 episodes. I saw some fanboys complaining in a forum about how those old shows are only like 20 episodes long. What the
My
hell's
God,
up with that?
Actually, really good and high budget shows now they still limit their run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't tell a
But
good
these kids are like,
narrative in-
Inuyasha went on for 1,000 episodes. It was
So
awesome.
1,000
Adam,
episodes
Adam,
of
Adam.
crap versus 26 awesome episodes.
Quantity over quality is not the best way to go.
Yep. I mean, everyone always forgets that two of the greatest anime ever, Tenku no Escaflowne and Evangelion, were both supposed to be 39 episodes. And they ran out of money, and they had to cut them down to 26.
Which made Eva kind of incomprehensible, but on the same
Yeah,
time,
wait,
it sparked
wait.
a lot of philosophical discussions.
Wait. Are you claiming that Ava would have been comprehensible somehow if they'd been able to add more bullshit to it? If they'd had twice as many scenes of Shinji going, I don't know what to do, I might be gay, I'm having an existential crisis, I don't want to pilot the giant robot.
Oh, let us not contemplate this.
What
It's
was-
kind of scary.
Dave and Joel's
Fast Karate for the Gentleman.
They had the best thing when they were talking about Shinji. They were like, if someone comes up to you and says, you had to pilot the giant robot, like the only two answers are like, oh, okay, when? Or like, I'm already in, let's go. Or something like that. It was much more funny when they said it, but.
Yeah, we can't really rip them off like Anime World Order does.
No, but it was quite hilarious. I was laughing for like 5 minutes. I had to rewind their podcast.
But actually, the best, like I said, my parents are part of the reason I got into film in the first place. But they picked out Bebop, they picked out Lane. Most of the stuff, my mom would read reviews and stuff online, and she'd pick out these shows, and they were always the best shows. So. Yay to my parents. My dad into Maison Ikoku and Yotsuba. Those are like his two favorite
anyone who's not into
ever.
Yotsuba is not human.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
do
mean,
not have a heart.
even-
That's what I told the librarian.
Even
It's
our
like,
friend Brian, who seems to really dislike all anime and manga,
he's just like
he-
vehemently against it.
but
from
yet,
what I hear.
Yotsuba, he goes nuts over. It's too good.
How can you not?
I mean, there are underwear perverts, scary guys. I know that they
What
don't.
is with the whole underwear pervert
you
thing?
didn't? Do we not explain this like 10 times already?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You were talking about the comic that
Well,
you
I think the
actually
problem
had
is
the first two
we
issues
did
of that,
a
and
show where we talked about this as a news.
Oh, sorry. I must have not.
Well, the
heard
problem
that
is
one.
that it was common news, but then it disappeared off the internet. Like it wasn't widely linked to, and a lot
It
of
was
people
basically
forgot.
it was news in the 70s, but everyone forgot it until recently.
Yeah.
And Marvel and DC have trademarked the words superhero and super-hero. I forget which company has which word.
But technically, we can't really use those words in that context.
Get
yeah.
out.
So Boing Boing said they've discovered this recently. So Boing Boing said, fine, we're not calling it superhero anymore. We're calling it underwear pervert. So we're just going along with that, you
Yep.
know? And that's what that is.
But since we don't want to go too long in the episode, one thing I find interesting, and I always like to categorize things like this, but it seems like all of us here, despite the fact that we all got into anime over a span of many years at different times, we're definitely, I would call us second-gen anime fans.
Yep.
In terms of that, 0th gen is like the people who watched Star Blazers in the 70s.
Yeah,
Like,
the people who watched Robotech knew that it was Japanese, knew that they destroyed 3 Japanese shows to make it, and they were copying tapes at conventions back in the day.
And 0th gen, I think, even includes the people before VHS.
Wow. They were
Yeah.
copying beta tapes at conventions.
No, they were copying nothing. They were just, but then, first
They
gen,
stole some film and they were watching it in a projector at a convention.
yeah, these are the oldest of school. The
Raw.
people before there was
Downloading translations from the internet on paper and looking down at them and then up at the screen.
Scott,
I've done
Scott,
that before.
downloading from the internet. No, they
Okay.
were getting them on paper in the mail.
They
I
got
remember when
yeah.
we watched Now Scott long time ago, and I might have been in elementary school, but I must have been in 7th grade because we had AOL, and we downloaded a script of Now Scott off AOL, and that
I
was
watched
before
a
I
couple
knew
of shows
Japanese.
with scripts, and you know what? It really sucks.
Yeah.
But then first
Or
generation.
people using Genlocks to add subtitles.
God, don't get me started on Genlocks. I really wanted to learn about that technology until I realized that it really sucks.
And now it's obsolete. Thank you, God.
But
that
then,
you don't exist.
Then
but.
there's the first generation fans, and those are basically the people who are running all of the anime conventions today. I mean, if you listen to Anime World Order, they're pretty much the trailing end of the first generation fans, just as we are the bleeding edge of the second generation fans. 3rd gen are the kids coming up now watching, I don't know, Naruto, Bleach, Z.
Yep. Man, I actually just remembered something that back in the day, in like the early 90s, when I went to the comic book store, they had like a one little tiny shelf that had Ranma and Dragon Ball Z tapes. And they had a little tiny TV that would show them. And I remember I would look at it for like a minute and go, I don't like that. And that kind of, like, I don't think they might have had some manga on that shelf, but I don't remember it.
Well, third-gen fans, I always thought, are people who take anime on television for granted. Like, they don't remember a time where there hasn't been constant anime programming.
Yeah, or even better, the travesties, like when Fox tried to do Escaflowne.
Or they grow up with the internet. You know, they don't remember ever having, say, a dial-up connection.
Well, it's like these kids where the PlayStation was their first
They're
system
like
and Final
12.
Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy they ever played. It was like, what the hell?
But then
Yeah.
again, there's the first-gen fans who were like, yeah, you kids suck because we had to go through a lot of difficult effort to get our fandom. You kids just get it.
That's why we're awesome, because we're right in between. We're not the crazy old guys, and we're not the young punk kids. We're the in-between awesomes.
Of
No one will
course.
ever be as awesome as we are.
We're the
We're better than everybody.
I think we're just the crazy punk guys.
Yeah, the people older than us suck, the people younger than us suck.
The problem is that's what everyone thinks.
I know, isn't it great?
Except the punk kids. The third-gen fans don't even know we exist.
Yeah.
They don't even notice us. They probably think that we're like someone's parents when we go to the con.
It's like they don't remember a time when it wasn't mainstream.
Yet I think back and I can't remember a time when I wasn't playing Nintendo games.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Well, it came out like the year after I was born, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
Okay.
we should wrap this up because we've
Making
been.
me feel old here. Stop it.
Yeah, you want to feel old?
Old, you're young. We're the old
I know.
ones.
I
No,
know.
you know who's old? Our friend Scott Johnson and the
You
kids
guys
at
are
Anime World
old.
Order.
Yeah, when you and your dad brought home that Mononoke tape, I was like done with high school. And on my way to college.
Yada.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily a lot of our listeners are a lot older than us, which makes me feel a lot better about myself.
安心.
Okay, once again, that was our very hastily put together origin story of anime. Once again, tomorrow, being Thursday, when we can talk about anything, we have a very special topic that we're not going to reveal just yet.
Because I didn't think of it yet.
Quiet, Hugh. It's supposed to be some sort of mystery.
It is a mystery to me.
Tomorrow, we're going to talk about something that we got into and how we got into it.
Awesome.
Trouble.
It might just be like how we got into the cupboard or
How we got into, I don't know,
A
life.
whole heap of hot water.
Yeah.
yeah. But to end with a couple quick meta bits, if you have been for whatever reason not joining the Front Row Crew Geeknights forums,
You're full of boogers.
yes, you are full of boogers. But if you,
Blow your nose.
there is no reason not to join. The Geeknights
What are you
forums
doing?
are growing to the point that we can barely contain their awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
People are posting there faster than I can read.
Yeah, I used to like respond to all these threads all the time. Now I just can't. It's just not possible.
And I'm starting to see some people who don't really even listen to Geeknights that much. They just really like our forums.
Yeah. Also, I want to pimp the long neglected Frapper map. If you go to frontrowcrew.com and on the right side, there's a little icon-y thing that says add yourself to the Frapper map. So go do that, and there'll be little push pins for all our listeners on there.
I was so sad because I wanted to be the first person in Japan.
And there were already like 3 people.
No, there was one person.
But wasn't
and
that
it was
one-
the fake guy.
See, yeah. Actually,
and I was sad because I was like, I am the first one. And no, I'm not.
There are actually like 3 or 4
Gagari-chan.
legitimate people over there now.
Really?
Yeah.
Hello, Japan.
Are they
Yes.
are they Japanese?
I
yeah,
guess.
well,
I don't know.
One of them at
Eigo
least
wakattemasu
is an
ka?
American who's teaching English there.
Yoroshiku ne.
Yeah.
We also have, it's funny, we have a lot of listeners in Australia and Britain, and we have a Dutch listener.
Well, there was the guy from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And there was a guy from New Zealand, I think.
I think
and-
we're more popular overseas than we are in the U.S.
No, I don't think so, but
It's at least like 60-40 at this point.
it's like 70-30, but it's still a lot of international goings on. Hooray for you learning English.
Yeah, so
Sorry
join-
we don't know your languages except
So,
for Emily.
Anyway, since we're descending into chaos, join the forums, join the Frapper map, go to the website, you get links to all the things we talk about, like the wonderful things of the day. You can also vote in the forums as to what topics we'll talk about. And this is anime related, so I'll throw it out last. Sometime in the somewhat near future, there's a good chance we're going to be finally actually interviewing Jim Vowles, the con chair of Otakon 2006. We interviewed him in the forums text-wise, which you can read that there. But if you have questions you would like to ask the con chair of Otakon, ask away. We're going to take the best questions, and if he consents to the interview, we're going to ask them.
Oh shit, I almost forgot. Citicon.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to give all the details now. I'll give them next week on Wednesday. But if you go to Sitacon.com, www.sitacon.com, we're going to be at this convention in Utica, New York in early October. So, yeah, check it out.
Yeah, and when we say be there, we mean we are running all sorts of shit.
We're going to be down at this convention, along with some other anime podcasters and Entertainment System, and Martin Leung, the video game pianist, and other awesomeness is going down there. So be there, be square.
And that was Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geek Nights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.